what's going on, everyone?
Hello.
The video cut off right as I was typing text in the comments back to our awesome followers, and it caught me off guard. I wasn't ready. So, hey, everyone, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a very active chat, which is always fun and exciting. So thank you so much, you guys. Make sure you hit the like button. And now, of course, I need to give a shout out to the Patreons of the Dying Breed. We've got Warrior Bernard, Fighters Maxwell Foster, and our latest Defender of the Dying Breed, LG. So thank you so much, you guys. The patrons who support us, we're so grateful. So make sure we give a shout out to them. Now, to everyone else, I am super stoked for this interview because I've been trying to get Mixtifer or Chris or the legendary writer behind Son of Sin. I've been trying to get him to do an interview for a couple months, but life has been crazy for both of us.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I know him as Chris. So, Chris, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to my community, let them know who you are and what you do.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Mixtifer, or as he likes to call me, Chris. I've been a live streaming Twitch streamer, if you will, since 2012. So I'm going into year 12 soon. For 5 of those years, I was on a different platform called Mixer, which was owned by Microsoft. That ended in a burning dumpster fire. So I went back to Twitch almost 3 years ago now. And yeah, I'm now an author as of, I guess 3 years ago now, 2020. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Aside from that, there's not too much else. I have a wonderful wife. We're expecting our first child named Phoenix.
You beat me to it. That was my next thing, was to say congrats to you and Stacy, and hopefully many blessings to Mom as she has little Phoenix. That's what his name is.
Yeah, you know the name. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So
there she is. Okay? Speaking of the devil.
Oh, there she is. Of course, she is the better half to Chris, the one that we were really hoping would come and show up.
I can leave. I can go get her if you want.
I mean, dude, you guys could be the first couples stream we ever had. That could be awesome.
She would do it. Maybe. She's actually packing, though, so I don't think so.
Okay. Well, also, for those of you who do not know, there is this little thing called Hurricane Hillary or Tropical Storm Hillary that is hitting the West Coast. So if for any reason our power goes out, our internet goes out, that is more than likely the reason, is we have
quite windy here.
Some storms. Yeah, there's a little bit of wind. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get started. I love to know our authors. I love to know their story. So Chris, what's your story, man? Where did you grow up? How did you get started in life? And what were some of your experiences as a kid?
I grew up out in the dusty area called Rainbow Valley, Buckeye, Arizona, way out in the middle of nowhere. So we're talking like the 80s, early 90s. Absolutely nothing. Oh. I don't know how long you've been in Arizona?
Oh, man, I've been here almost a full year. And then, of course, I came in, visited family. So, yes, spoiler alert to those tuning in. Chris and I are in the same valley area, just a couple miles away from each other. So I know Buckeye as it is today, but I've heard many stories, horror stories almost, of how Buckeye was back in the day.
Yeah, so like you would still consider it small and not much out there, but you want to go back 30 years and it's really like nothing out there. I went to elementary school out there. I was an Air Force brat, so my dad was Air Force. He was the boss, senior master sergeant. Okay. So much of my life, I grew up on the flight line out at Luke Air Force Base, and he was the guy that got to drive around the golf cart and just give orders. And I always kind of like that, as your dad, he was the boss.
Yep, absolutely.
And I spent my early life playing basketball, which into high school led to a series of 5 knee surgeries. Oh. So, yeah, I had 5 knee surgeries because I tried out for varsity football and made it my freshman year, and my knees couldn't take it because I was conditioned for basketball. So from that point is when I really kind of, I brought this up just because it gave me a ton of time to explore Final Fantasy games. That's when they entered my life. Yeah. That was when I really got into, I had a lot of time to do some gaming over several years of surgeries.
Now, I'm curious, were you ever like thinking about the military, kind of following dad's lineage, and then that injury really held you up, or?
I tried to go into the military at 18 and I got denied because of the surgeries.
Okay, that's what I wondered. I was curious.
Yeah, I tried.
Okay, so Final Fantasy was really your introduction to gaming and kind of fantasy world, or?
Fantasy, yes. I was gaming since Buckeye, since I was on the NES. I guess I should have mentioned that. I had an NES and all that. But
Okay,
I just FF's a good segue to Son of Sin because that's the kind of story I'm trying to write.
yeah, okay, and so let's go into the chat. We got a lot of people here we need to recognize. So we have Xander, is it?
Yeah, he's also I've actually inspired him to start writing his own books, and
Oh, nice.
he's in that wonderful process you and I have talked about working with an artist. You know how
Okay,
how
how
difficult
awesome
that
that
can
is.
be. Yeah, it's just incredible experience.
Yeah. Okay, Xander. Well, hey, congrats. Thanks for coming in. And man, be sure to ask us any questions. And obviously, you have Chris as a huge connection there. So, congrats on this journey, man.
He's a
It's
good
a
man.
very rewarding journey. Don't give up on the process. It's totally
Challenging.
worth it. Yeah. Okay. And then we have Reborn Eagle. Thank you so much for coming in. And then, of course, as soon as he saw Xander, he wanted to punch out. So,
I like
John
how you're
A.
showing
Douglas.
that's so cool. You can show the comments like that.
Yeah, well, with StreamYard, you have a lot of flexibility, and that's what I love. Is granted, it doesn't stream to every platform, right? Because every platform has got different specifications on their dimensions, etc. But with StreamYard, if you're watching on Facebook and you give it permission, we can have you show up on here. When we're also doing it to YouTube, we can have the individuals come up on the screen. So
That's cool.
yeah, John A. Douglas, author of The Black Crown, which I am super excited. He's also going through the whole artist cover art stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for his book to come out.
Nice.
We have got Brandon Bernard, our warrior of the dying breed. Thank you so much, brother. Well, also known as Panda Cakes, which I think is one of the coolest nicknames, call signs ever. Miss Stacy is coming in the chat. So yeah, dude, you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for showing up.
Yeah, thank you all.
Okay, so one of the questions or one of the things that John had asked when we started talking about Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy. I saw that. I saw that
Yeah,
comment.
your favorite Final Fantasy game and why is it 9?
9 is in the top 3, I'd probably say. It's definitely top 5, but I used to be all about 8 until 7 took over.
Really?
I've actually played every single one. I didn't mention that with my Twitch stream, but that's my main thing on my channel is I do marathons of every single game in a franchise. So I've played every single Final Fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
And 7 still remains at the top. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I have my community bought me a fully steel forged Buster Sword.
Is that the one you have in your like author photo or one of your author photos?
No. Do you know what the Buster Sword is?
Or is it the
Final
one like
Fantasy
a handgun?
7? No, that's a gunblade. That's from 8.
Okay, so clearly I
7's
have
just
no
the
idea what
giant.
you're talking
It's
about.
the giant knife looking one.
Okay.
Anyway, it was I started out the year pretty rough. We lost our 2 dogs, Cloud and Tifa.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
And they were both named from characters in FF7. So my community got me the sword and had their ashes cast into these little crystals called materia, which is a thing in the game that you equip to use magic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're mounted in the sword. It's the most beautiful thing I probably own. I'm gonna get it mounted on the wall back here when I can. But yeah, that's
awesome,
why
man.
7 is super special.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you get that deep emotional connection. I mean, so that's why it makes sense. Now, so you were talking, hey, I was playing basketball, then I had these injuries, I had these surgeries, and I started to get into Final Fantasy. Now, does your story progress from there?
From there, I had some very rough years. Parents went through a divorce, stuff like that. Had to figure out what the hell I was going to do at 18, just trying to get back on my feet. I was a security guard for several years until one day on a third shift, working a third shift. We've all probably been there, right? That 4 a.m. segment of a third shift or something. I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Yes, I've been there. I can understand.
Yeah. So I started thinking about like Final Fantasies and why I love them. I was like, I could probably write a story. And I started toying with ideas. And this was like 2006,
Okay.
2006, I came up with the bare bones of Son of Sin, but it didn't have a name. I had the name Klain. I was wrapping a story around a guy named Klain because I love Cloud from
Okay.
FF7. But that's where
Which
that.
Klain is the main character in the book
Yes,
series,
sir.
just for those who haven't read it yet.
Yep. And I entered into one of the worst mistakes of my life. I attended Collins College. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I know this name. I just can't remember why I know this name.
They had a video game design program, and I wanted to go there to make my own game based on the story I was writing and blah, 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 blah. So I entered into a wonderful $67,000 student loan debt as a young, naive guy. And they don't tell you, like the way they rope you in. Well, back then, the college is actually closed now, and our degrees were, I guess, would the term be annulled or whatever the term is?
Man.
They have no value, in other words.
Right.
Anyway, when you're first going there, I went there with my mom and everything, and they rope you in like, oh, they pretty much guarantee they'll get you a job when you graduate. And you know what those jobs actually were? Because all my friends, I was offered it, my friends, just a phone room job, like phone tech support for like Verizon or something. So when they say they guarantee you a job, they didn't mean in the game industry.
I figured mostly it'd be like, yeah, you can come work at the college as a janitor.
Yeah, right. Shoot, that would have been better than the call center, probably.
I mean, I've worked as a janitor, so I get it. And, I don't. There's actually a Medal of Honor recipient who was a janitor at the Air Force Academy. And that's another story for another time.
Nice.
So, yeah. Okay. So you actually got the degree?
I finished. I had to have another knee surgery in the middle of it. There was one, are you familiar with where Castles and Coasters is in North Phoenix?
Yes, I know. I've driven by.
Sorta. Yeah. So like up there, they had a campus there. And then when I had to return, I had to go to the one in Tempe. So I went to both different campuses. So I had to have a whole different set of classmates. And yeah, I had a terrible life early on, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I made it through.
You definitely sound like you built your resiliency early.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to take this next step. And there's just this like,
you just keep getting kicked in the teeth.
That just wants to roundhouse you as soon as you take a step.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that hurt. Okay, I'm going to take another step forward over here. And then here's another dude just roundhousing you. It's to welcome.
Went through a ton of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did graduate. And where do I go from there? I guess I'd like a fast forward part on this button.
See, these are the details I don't think a lot of people really get to know about.
Oh, some of them have probably heard it. Mm-hmm. But I guess the quickest way to push through that part of my life, my grandmother passed away. That was extremely hard for me. I keep a picture of her on my desk. This was like way back in the 40s or something. She was a tennis champion.
I was about to say tennis champ right there. So
yeah. She left me and my mom some inheritance, and I actually tried to start my own businesses, and I got conned out of all of my money.
Oh no! Dude.
All the money she left me, and I fell on my face, and I had nowhere to go. I was pretty much almost bankrupt or on the streets, and I decided to become a streamer. I was like, I didn't want to go to any 9 to 5 just to do it, and I said, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. And I stuck to it, and that was 2012. Yeah. So from 2009,
like you had to grind then. From what it sounded like, you were literally grinding every day. You had to wake up and be like, "Dude, I'm gonna grind until I get to where I want to be or need to be."
Yeah, and you're still not there. Like you never really arrive where you want to be, I guess.
Sure.
But when you talk about it all, it does kind of feel good, right? To come out on top of a lot of shitty situations, using those things as motivation. And I try to write that into Klain, if you probably caught on a little bit.
It's interesting because now, like, yes, I've read the first book. I need to get into the second. And I also watched your interview with another mutual friend of ours, Richie, over at Stats on Stats.
Nice.
So I know that you referenced the I-17 in one of your books.
You caught that.
You did reference Loop 303 in book 1. And so when you were on that interview, I'm like, no, this mofo, I know he referenced. So I literally flipped.
Did you remember? Oh, you haven't done book 2 yet, right?
I haven't yet. No, so that's where I'm
Okay.
excited to get into book 2.
There's a city that I reference called Flag Point.
Nice.
So look for
Well,
that one.
so here's the thing. So I have my second series, Call Sign Bloodbath, also like the Scalpel Chronicles. So Call Sign Bloodbath is the first one. I reference Salem, Oregon, where I
Ah,
spent a couple years. And then in book 2, we go to Atlanta, Georgia. And I mean, like, I had locations down. Like, you could Google the addresses, you and see all these things. So I had to do a little bit of changing. But yeah, I was all up in different cities using Google Maps. So I get it.
nice. Yeah. I kind of see Son of Sin as a alternate reality. So things aren't they're similar but not similar. It'll get into that later in the story, but yeah.
I mean,
I'm not
it is
I'm
very
it's not
prophetic to where I'm like, oh yeah, this is the future for sure.
yeah, that's the goal. But I'm trying to not I don't know if I exactly want it to take place in our reality. You know what I mean? So I just kind of put those Easter eggs in there like maybe 10 years from like, oh yeah, I planned that the whole time. So it's just
So, well, that's where book 4 of the Scalpel Chronicles is literally I see exactly where society's going, and I'm just putting all of that into book
Mm,
4, and it's just going to be. I mean, the first book is called Bloodbath. The third one is called Slaughterhouse. So you can kind of just understand where the progression's going to go in the whole story. But yeah.
nice. Yeah, those are aggressive words. I've heard you've got like I thought I have mature content. I think you got me beat.
Oh,
I've heard some snippets.
book 2 for sure is of the Scalpel Chronicle, man. I would say it's on the borderline of some horror to a certain point, some
Mhm.
gore, or yeah, it's a good time, that's for sure.
My third
Um,
book, I'm bringing in demons and otherworldly stuff,
nice.
dark nightclubs with demons in cages, like real demons, but people don't realize they're real and stuff like that.
Yep.
So
Oh, that's sick.
it's
I'm
just getting
excited.
fun. Yeah, book 3 is really it's my best work for sure, I think.
So I guess I mean, you kind of answer the question really, but um, for those who haven't met you in person, when you first meet Chris, it could be intimidating because I would say what you're probably 6'1",
6'5".
6'5", just a few more inches. So you have a very, what we used to call in the military, a command presence where you could just walk into the room and just standing there being yourself. It's like, okay, yeah, don't mess with that guy. You know, if we gave
Wow,
you a
really?
battle axe, you would be a living Viking. Or
A
if we just
buster
gave
sword.
you an electric guitar, I'd be like, yeah, that's totally a heavy metal, rock band guy.
I should totally get one.
Dude, absolutely. So, you have this very large presence, not in a bad way, but you're a video game streamer. You stream video games. So,
A lot of people
well,
don't believe me when I tell them how tall I am.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you look like when you say I was a security guard, bouncer, personal security, like, yes, absolutely. You have that natural build to you. But what was it like when you're first starting out on stream? Like, I think a lot of people go into it with aspirations, believing, oh, yeah, I could do this, but it really doesn't succeed. They don't see how hard it actually is. And so, for being in it 12 years, what was it like to start out like that and get to where you are today?
That was a great segue because when I first found Twitch, it was from one of my college friends at Collins College. He showed me at that time Justin TV, which is what it was called before Twitch. Um, and he showed me this guy he was watching playing this game called Don't Starve. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's just like a survival game where you're stuck in the woods, you have to gather resources and just survive.
Oh,
Anyway,
interesting. Okay, I
and
probably love that game.
yeah. Well, it's pretty old now, but yeah, it's really cool.
Right.
It's got like a Tim Burton type graphic style, and it's
Oh,
2D.
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, I was watching him watch him, and I just found him. I won't say his name, obviously, but very boring. I was like, and he had tons of viewers, and he was making a living doing it. I was like, what the? I can do that, and I know I can be entertaining and make people laugh, and even just yelling or something.
Right.
And I don't know. I suppose it worked 12 years later. Uh, Success is extremely difficult to maintain. I've been at the height and now I'm at a kind of a low, I guess you could say. So that's, I guess, the biggest challenge of streaming is maintaining your level of whatever success or viewership or what have you.
Right. Well, that's actually a great thing there too when you talk about, to reach success, because so many people have a different interpretation of that, where they're thinking, oh, success is, to be like a LeBron James, where you could have the money to
Yeah,
do whatever you want.
ninja is
Whereas
the
some people could be like, yo, if I could just get 20 followers, like that would be a
right.
success to me.
Yeah,
So it's very relative. When you were starting out 12 years ago, was there
different world.
certain levels that you remember reaching where you're just like, oh my gosh,
Oh
and then
yeah,
like it just kept growing? Like, what was it kind of like for you in that headspace as it
heartbreaking,
progressed?
heartbreaking. I
Really?
extremely heartbreaking. Streaming has been some of the most biggest heartbreaks of my life, but also the biggest dreams come true. So it's very conflicting. Um, when I started out, I was a part of a smaller stream group, and I became the most popular in that group. And a lot of people were there was a
Mhm.
lot of tensions. So I
Right.
decided to leave. I broke away as easily as I could. Started my own solo channel. It was called Be Creative, and over the 3 years of that one, I probably grew. I was somewhere around 17,000 followers, and I met the metrics of Twitch, and they never partnered me. I applied like 16 different times over the course of
Mm.
several. I mean, I think the total right now is 17. I've total applied, and they've
Okay.
always denied me. So that's extremely heartbreaking. I uh, I had a last ditch. Well, I don't know if you would call it last ditch, but I rebranded to be Mixtifer, which was always my nickname in real life.
Okay.
I grew that channel on Twitch to another 5,000, and they continued to deny me. And that was when Beam came along and Mixer. So I completely left. So I had to. What I'm bringing up is all the times having to rebuild from zero.
Right.
Whereas if I was able to just keep one channel, who knows where I could have been? Because on Mixer, I got to 17,000,
Hmm.
another 17,000 followers, and now I'm back on Twitch, and I'm struggling to get back to 7,000. So it's like
So
all 12 years of just loss.
this whole connection with Twitch that you were talking about, where you applied, is this still a thing that,
Partnership.
it, yeah, is that still an active thing? And what
So
exactly is that?
so back in the day, the only you know what a sub button is, right? You can pay a
Yeah.
streamer $6 a month. Back in the day, you could only get that on your channel if they partnered you. But
Okay.
but now these days, 7, 8 years ago now, they started an affiliate program where everybody can get a sub button. But partnership now, you can negotiate what a percentage of that money you get from your subs and such. So
Interesting.
that's yeah. So like
Okay.
now I'm still just an affiliate after 12 years of doing it full time.
So I think that's probably the reality. I think, a lot of people who have this aspiration don't realize of, it's not just start a Twitch, get paid subscribers. Like there's a totally different process to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Maintaining your own following and viewership, and then trying to appease a company that decides your fate pretty much. And that goes for even Mixer. That was a nightmare over there. They don't really seem to enjoy mature streamers too much. How about that? Like cursing and silly antics and stuff like that.
the current, what is it? The current gif of the guy like, what the fuck? What the
Yeah.
fuck? That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
And most of my viewers know, most of my streams, I normally have the overlay for rated M for military man child.
Ah,
So
yeah.
that's
That's
where you
fitting.
never know what we're gonna say, what we're gonna do, but I want to keep it real, and that's what I think. A lot of
Yeah,
people,
they don't like people keeping it real.
yeah,
Corporations.
right. This sucks. No, it doesn't. No, everything's
No,
great
like
over
it. You
here.
must like it. Here's your
Yeah.
trophy. You lost.
So now, from the streaming side of things, you basically earn a living from people giving you, hey, I'm going to pay $2 to get this little star and gift you the star, and that will come in a percentage per se. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so like say Reborn, he subs to me. They
Mhm.
well they actually have 3 tiers. He's a tier 3. Say like a tier 1, it's $6 a month. I'll get I think 250 of
Absolutely.
it.
Okay.
So you don't even get half.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, right? And
Yeah.
the other thing is like people can gift you subs. So like somebody can gift you 30 subs to random people. You get
Mhm.
half of that.
What?
So
Because I
so
remember I have gifted subs to people, and now you're telling me they only got
yeah.
half of that sub?
Yeah, and well, because like people can donate to me, right? Like
Mhm.
Reborn, my top donor, they can just send you money, right? And there's no cut. Like I think PayPal takes 5% or something. I don't know, it might be
Right.
less, but I get 95% of the money he sent me. So somebody gives you 30 subs, you're like smiling through your teeth. Thank you. You could have just donated that, and
Mm.
and then I've gotten those criticisms like only Mixedfer would complain about free money. It's like, yeah, but when you're living off of just what people are willing to give you, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the donation than the 30 subs for all the people because then all those subs go to people that don't even watch you.
Right. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah.
Um, gosh, where was I about to go with that? So, okay, so after you've been at this for 12 years, do you look at those metrics of like, hey, here's some peak viewing hours, here's normally when I get the most activity, so I you know, schedule my day around this? Like, what's kind of the daily life and work process on the business side of things as a streamer?
Maybe that's probably also another culprit, maybe in some of my either rise or negative to the growth or success. I for years would try to just stare at that type of data, like you said, or figure out when most people are there to watch. But then, having met Stace and we're married, she has a corporate job and all that kind of stuff. I just switched to the hours that were healthy, not just for me,
Mm,
but for her and my relationship. So I try
right.
to stream. The majority of my hours are the same time she's on, with a little bit of overlap there. But yeah, just from a strictly health of well-being and relationship status, I just do the earlier streams. I think I probably was more successful because it used to be I probably started like 4 p.m. and went to midnight or 1 a.m. on
Hmm.
my early first 7 years of streaming or something. So I think that was a big change, but I don't know. Health's important, right? I feel a lot better than back
I
then,
think
probably.
it's you got to the point where some creators only learn it after burnout,
Yeah.
where you
Oh, I
have to
felt
take care
burnout.
of yourself
Mm.
before
Oh,
you
I
can.
swore off 24-hour streams. That stuff is just so bad for you.
I mean,
I never
gosh,
felt worse in my life than a 24-hour stream.
well, so I've okay, so maybe this is a good transition point, but there's been times where I've had to teach military courses,
Oh
facilitate
man.
programs. You get in front of an audience, you start talking, engaging, and you are exhausted. I
Oh
cannot even
God.
imagine how exhausting it must be to where you're trying to be engaged in a video game, but you're also trying to engage in this community that you do love and support because they are supporting you.
Yeah. I can't even like I don't a lot of people will say, "Oh, what you do is awesome,"
Don't
but
worry,
they don't
Stacy, we're going to get on them for you. So we're not going to let them do it anymore.
those are those are dangerous for sure. I don't think I've ever felt more exhausted. But yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you play video games for a living." And yeah, you're right. But it is extremely exhausting because the amount of talking and a lot of people if you watch a lot of streamers, like I play most of my games on hard mode and I'm still responding to every line of chat while playing it like something intense like God of War or something. Um, it gets extremely exhausting, and I don't really think a lot of people could understand sort of what that's like. 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for 12 years. And Stace and I talk about, she says all the time, you're not appreciated enough, Like, I
Mhm.
don't think really people really can appreciate because you make it look too easy. And for something like that to be held against you,
Good old Dan. In my opinion, I feel like you don't get to enjoy the game. And that's actually the segue like we were transitioning into, Dan.
yeah, there's I definitely wouldn't. I can agree and disagree because I enjoy that people like my reactions to things and it's nice to share that. But there's definitely something missing in that not being able to sit and play by
Mhm.
yourself. But I don't know. There's the other whole other animal. There is the assholes out there that come in your chat and spoil the ending for you in a game, and you're like just started it 4 hours ago or something, and they come in and
Mm.
like I had that happen to me on Red Dead 2, and that was a huge. I love that game. I didn't even finish it because I was
If I
so.
remember correctly, it's like basically being considered the greatest game developed of the century, I think it is, or something,
Yeah.
decade.
You never played it?
No, I'm not a huge video gamer. One, because of money.
Mm,
Two, because I basically do all of my free time is in writing now,
that's
or in
good.
the content creation around the writing. So
That's good. That's actually
yeah,
stay away then.
I know, right?
Into the dark hole of video
Because
games.
like, so that was where when I wrote Call Sign Bloodbath, it's a first person shooter because the majority of games I did play when I was active was mostly Call of Duty. So that's where I was like, okay, I can take a Call of Duty system, I can use my military experience and training, and I can get some game mechanics. I can write the story, which I think would be really cool. So that's where, because in the military, almost all of the guys, we would all play Call of Duty. That was just the game we all gravitated to. So it was very much a peer pressure, a social setting. So I've never really experienced a lot of these other games that I've just heard are epic.
Right. Well, there's definitely some experiences you'd probably love to death for sure.
Right. So when I was younger, I mean, this is back, gosh, over 20 years ago. I love video games. I love computer games, but this was like Command and Conquer, the original Call of Duty on PC, Age of Empires. Like, I love computer games. I really wanted to be a video game tester. I thought that would be the coolest job ever.
Oh,
So as I started to research it, it was, you have to do a lot of writing. You have to do a lot of technical writing, which I hated. I hated writing, and now I'm a writer. So I think,
yeah.
for you, when you're
It's a great point.
playing video games, a lot of people think that would be the coolest job ever, is just to get to play video games. But like you said, after 12 years, 8+ hours a day,
Well, I
you
mean,
start to
well,
see
the
things a
days that
lot
sting is
differently.
when you go through a whole 8 hour day and don't make a single dollar. Like, how is that not that would eat at you?
Right.
So that stuff is hard to stomach sometimes.
I mean, it sounds like you really would make more money as a janitor or even a
Oh,
server to,
there's no question.
yeah.
I'll
So
just go
that's
do
where,
that.
how much stress, I mean, if you're willing to talk about it, like, it just sounds like there's a lot of stress when it's like, I do not know how much money I'm going to make today. Hopefully it's just enough to pay the bills, because
Oh,
you
I
do want
barely
to have a
break even.
family.
Yeah.
You do want to,
For sure.
Be-
Yeah.
because all of your profits, or excuse me, profits, proceeds really are going in to pay for new games, upgraded equipment to play the new games, et cetera, et cetera. High speed internet, which is extremely expensive.
Cox is the worst too.
Oh yeah, they sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be named Sucks.
I mean, Cox, if you just change the spelling a little bit, it
Yeah.
fits. We all
Like
get it.
Stacy
That's the
said,
joke
it
here.
keeps me hungry. The struggle keeps me hungry, I guess. Probably that's the defining
She
trait of my
literally
life.
said it as you said it.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys
true.
aren't married at all when you're finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah. She's my best friend.
So, how did you guys meet then? I mean, was this during your video game stream days?
Yeah,
Are you
she
guys,
was a viewer of mine. She's from New York.
what?
Yeah, I was doing a Resident Evil marathon dressed up as Resident Evil character, and she found my channel and used me as background noise while working at the Food Network.
Holy cow.
Yeah, she used to watch me, and then she didn't speak for a long time, and then she started donating to me just to
So you
keep me
just see
going.
this name like in there, but not saying
Case
anything.
9.
You're
Yeah,
just
well,
like,
yeah,
are you
that's
going
one
to
of
talk to me? Or?
the streaming 101 is to not look at your viewer list
Oh,
because
okay.
that stuff starts getting in your head. You know what I mean? That's one of the
Okay.
biggest stream 101 tips, I would say.
Okay. There you
But yeah,
go.
she is the hottest groupie aside from Cloud Chain. See, she's pretty much here, right?
Oh my gosh. I think what this means is we need to do a new show. We need to do a release party when book 3 comes out, and it's going to be a couple show because we need to have Stacy come on.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, she's the editor, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
There have been so many awesome marathons.
Oh god, it's too
Let's see.
many.
what did Xander say? But the takeaway is you are enjoying something you love and making money, whereas you
Miney,
could be
yeah.
making money doing something you hate and destroy your quality. I'm guessing that's quality of life.
Well, I mean, you can say that about anything. Like, I'm telling you, I think it's just a thing about human beings is like no matter what you're doing, even if you do what you love, you know, you're gonna hate parts of everything.
Yep.
And some of them will eat at you more than even the positives. Not that you're wrong, Xander, absolutely. But it's still a ton of stress and work and
Yeah.
uh
Well, it's even that way with writing where, you know, you feel compelled to tell the story and you're like, man, I want to write this. I want to get this out there. And then you put it out there as an indie. And then you realize, like, why is no one buying my books?
oh
And then you're like, well, I still have to, there's more to the story that I need to tell. So then you're writing and you're still not getting readership, but you're like, I have to believe in this work. I believe in
mm-hmm.
this story. I'm going to keep going. And then you can even get to the point where you're starting to get burned out because it's like it is exhausting just to write in itself.
I think so I pretty much Mondays are my days off, but they're my writing days. But then my Mondays are also the days all my appointments are crammed into. So like I have to go to the dentist or the orthodontist, or I have to go do this, I have to run this errands. So a lot of times setting that one day, that's my writing day, gets filled with all these other things and I don't even get to write.
Yep.
That's what sucks. And then, you know, those days where I stream 8, 9, 10 hours and you don't make anything, I'm like, man, I should have just been writing, you know, that kind of stuff that will eat at you. Because I've already done so much of my third book and I know it's the best one. And yes, that frustration you're talking about when you're hoping for feedback from people and you get a repeat, oh, I'm gonna read it, and they never actually do, and those
Yep.
those sort of things. It's like, man, I just want to know I'm going in a good direction.
Right. Right. That's where, Bernard Panda Cakes, he's been one of my readers, supporters and followers on Patreon. And he's just been like, as he's going through the book, he's like, dude, this. And so it is great because, that feedback not only helps you feel validation for all of those hours you put in, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also the fact of, I want to become a better writer. I want to tell a better story. So what is it that you like? What is it you don't like? What was it you wanted more of?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those aspects, because yeah, you can write yourself into a blind, dark, tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't know. So that's where that feedback is just so clutch.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, we briefly spoke about the difficulties with even editors. How many had
Yes.
you gone through before you found this good one? And then, like, we we could talk about the fun side of like how you mentioned. I believe you said like you did some cheaper ones or even free editors, and then when you like, I believe you said I remember what you said you were paying. If you don't want to share that, but when you
Oh yeah,
realized that it's worth the money it costs
it
if you're
is. Yeah.
trying to get where you're trying to go, right? Between
So what's crazy, man, is I just talked about it on this past weekend update. So I do my personal updates for my fans and followers on Saturdays. We try to do an author AMA on Sundays. Um, and so this last one I shared this quote where, and you'll probably really appreciate that. One of the hardest things to hear after you don't get your way is keep working.
yeah.
But it's one of the only ways to be successful. You're not going to get your way most times in your life. So just keep working. Hard
Mm-hmm.
work pays off, but you don't know when the payoff is going to arrive. So just keep working.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
when I went out for editing, I went through about 39 different editors.
Yeah, I knew it was a high number.
And it was 2 days that I almost didn't sleep because as soon as someone would email back the manuscript or message me, I would wake up and I would review it and I would rack and stack. Like I had an Excel spreadsheet of every
Wow,
single
that's awesome.
person. And then I started to just go through time after time. And there was one or two editors that were very liberal with changing the manuscript. And they were like,
Ah,
so I gave him chapter 11, which is I am evil, and it introduces one of my favorite characters. Well, one editor, she completely changed part of it to where it really rapidly progressed the story faster pace. And I'm like,
Oh,
nope.
so cut out some fat.
She did
Or
cut out some fat, but the way she was wording, she would change words to make it a much more faster approach. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be slowly going through this forest where there's
okay, I
fog
got
and
you.
mist.
Right.
He's not running to this location. He is moving slowly and building this tension. And so I was like, nope. And she was also the most expensive. And I was like, nope. Then there was some people that instantly were like, oh, you sent me chapter 11. No, I need to start at the beginning. Nope, not for me. I am a difficult person. I need someone who's resilient and can deal with my craziness. So I finally dwindled it down to one or two. But the thing with Catherine was she was just so communicative over email.
Okay.
And I loved like the things that she changed. I really loved because it kept my voice as a writer, as the author, but it helped color the scene just a little bit better. Like, hey, you use this word repeatedly. I changed it here and here to these words. So it just helps it. And I was like, wow. So what I loved was she was very much more of an instructor and she helped teach me things to
Oh, nice.
where, so right now I'm going through another revision edit because I go, I send her the manuscript on October 1st. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a whole bunch of markups now
Oh, nice.
to where, because I've gotten to this point of continuing to write, I haven't touched this manuscript in 7 months. So when I'm coming back to it, I am seeing all the things now. I'm like, okay, changing it. But yeah, I mean, Catherine, I spend on average about $2,000 per book just in her editing services. And for me, it's worth it.
Sounds like it.
It's so worth it because of everything I learned. And so I think for a lot of people, they don't understand the average book that is in
Costs
English
thousands of dollars.
is $5,000
Yeah.
just to get it out there. And then with my
And then people are
book,
like, oh, when's your next one? When's your next one? I'm like,
yeah,
you didn't even read the first one.
I haven't even made $500 profit on the first one.
Yeah,
and you want me
right.
to spend another $5,000 on book 2.
Yeah.
And so with the artwork that's in my books for book 1 and 2, that's an extra $5,000 just in that artwork. And so it's like, hey guys, when I invested $30,000 into this venture, I invested $30,000 in. I don't have the funds right now to bring you book 3, even though I'm already 70,000 words into book 4 and I've got this. So it is one of those things where I think people think, oh man.
And an audiobook, throw an audiobook on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Audiobook. Like, I think a lot of people, oh man, you're selling books or this. Like, dude, no. I need 3,755 books sold in order to make $15 an hour for the time it took me to write the book.
Right.
And that's still not covering all the editing costs or everything else. So it is a lot. It is a huge investment where, as Stacy said, you have to play the long game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I remind myself, like the Witcher books and Harry Potter books and how long before they got the movie deals and stuff. That was like 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that's where, I mean, because we live in such a close area, I was about to go down to Jackrabbit and just right there on the on-ramp, just try to sell them out of my car as well. Like, hey, come support a local author. Get your copy from that guy, and then you can get a book from this guy.
Yeah, I actually had that, well, not that exactly, but the suggestion, that author that was sitting next to me at the convention, she said she goes to farmers markets, and a lot of people make more sales at those than they do at that, like the convention.
Yeah, I was super close to doing that. Because another thing, too, is when you're selling direct, especially in somewhere like Phoenix, where you have Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale, Goodyear, blah, 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 you have to buy a business license for each township. You have to pay taxes to each township. So if you go up to Scottsdale's,
you have to apply for a different tax ID, right?
Right. Yeah. So there's $60 just to have your business registered. Then I have to give you another portion to Arizona, another portion of Scottsdale. And it's like,
yeah.
And then you're, of course, as you know, you're standing in 120-degree heat off the blacktop.
And then you in my mind, we're like, why can't I just go fucking sell my book?
Yeah. So I'm like, that's why I just sell them out of my car, because I'm not going to pay for $60. Like,
yeah. and register for a different tax ID in each city individually.
Yeah. So that's where, I mean, a lot of well, the other thing too was when we were at Fan Fusion, I only had the one book. I was just about to hit publish on book 2 that next week. So that was where I was like, man, if I had like 5 or 6 books, that would make it a lot better for me to go to like a farmer's market where I can say, hey, do you love fantasy? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the series. Do you love more cyberpunk or lit RPG shooters? This is the series. You know, you have some diversity.
Right.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
so
I'm going to try one of those this year. I had quite a few New Year's resolutions, and one of them was to do my first ever event, which was the one I met you at
oh
for
yeah.
the books. But my other one was to do something small, like one of these sort of things, or a farmer's market, or whatever type thing.
Brandon, what are you doing? Are you watching on both Facebook and YouTube? What is going on, big
we
guy?
got an all-star here.
Network from a book club and some cons. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's where, I mean, you know, Brandon, that's where Chris and I met. And actually, Dito. I've had Dito on the show. I'm trying to get Brett Humphrey on the show. We got Jason Alden. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of authors that I network with. And that was a lot of the part, too, was seriously trying to bring everyone together. Yeah. I know, John. Brandon is double dipping. Look at this guy. Yes, he is. And John's are already on it. Double dipping. Well, thank you, big guy. Thanks for double dipping.
That Reborn comment, that's worth addressing, too.
Sorry. Thank you. Those readers missed the
next one.
So much. Oh,
that one.
There are some people who get confused about the cyberpunk genre and think it's related to. Yeah, that's actually a good.
Have you ran into that?
I haven't because
like, you know what cyberpunk is. Before
I know what the genre is, and I know what the video game is.
Okay, right.
Yeah, because
but you know that it's a genre.
1986, not
right. Okay, good.
2007.
Yeah, that's been one of the most frustrating conversations I've had to have as an author with Son of Sin is people literally think I am writing a story in Cyberpunk 2077. So like that is the only way that fiction. They don't know. They just think that they own that. That's their word. They aren't aware that it's a genre of, a subgenre of fantasy. And and having to explain that so many times is extremely frustrating for me. Like I've had one person, like they'll even debate you, like, that's not what are you talking about? That's not a real genre. And I'm like, that's frustrating. They're like, oh, are you writing a story in Cyberpunk? Is this a fan fiction or something? I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Like you've never, and then have you ever heard of Blade Runner? They're like, no. I'm like, oh, and you're gonna debate me on if this is a real genre or not.
Right.
Those are maddening conversations.
I was about to say. So actually, I guess that would be a good transition there. Then, you came up with the story when you were working as a security guard. Was it originally a cyberpunk story? Was that back when you wanted to?
I don't think I saw it that way. I saw it looking like Final Fantasy VII, and you could probably make a decent position that is a cyberpunk type story. It's probably more steampunk, but I think you could consider.
Well, you could technically have both.
Yeah,
because Steam is a type of technology, and I mean that's where in my fantasy series I start with the rise of steam powered technology. Mm-hmm. So you could look at, well, we have steampunk and you have cyberpunk. You can have both at the same time.
Yeah, right. It's I think it would definitely make a case for it being a cyberpunk story, at least cyberpunk light, I guess.
Well, I mean, because I'm kind of also thinking of like Arcane, right? The League of Legends Netflix. It's my favorite animation, and I'm thinking like,
Arcane. That is spot on what I would like to make. That is the exact image of how I'd want Son of Sin as that show. But
yeah, that's my goal.
Did you see how much each episode cost?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God. It's not even, oh my God. Maybe Stace, could you pull that up? She's so good at pulling stuff like that. It'll blow your mind.
I just put in another order for a set of books today for a friend. It's a matter of when people will love. Dude, thank you. Thank you, Brandon. Those will be in the mail this week, man. I've got something else in the works for you as well. So I'm just waiting for something to come in, and it's going to be on its way to you.
Yes, Dan.
That is some of the best. Dude, to me, I think I watched it a little bit after it came out, but I had heard of it. I think I've watched it 7, 8, 9 times now. It's truly
10
my
million.
favorite. 10 million per episode?
Yeah. So
Oh,
you're
that's not
thinking
that
like,
bad. We can crowdfund that, dude.
yeah, right. That's what I was going to bring up. Like, how the hell
Come on, streamers, let's get on this, you guys. Let's Indiegogo, one of those sites. Let's do this.
Yeah,
We
just
need a
do
son of
chapter one. Well, that's honestly been my, that's probably my next step after I want to find a way to fund one episode of the first chapter of the first book. I don't know
That would be
how.
pretty cool. That would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Oh,
Dude,
it's
there's got to be a
expensive.
bank we can rob. We'll just make a cryptocurrency. We'll make billions off of it. And then,
Yeah, that
it'll
works
just
for everybody.
such a beautiful piece of art. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, that now that you say it, it makes sense. I could see that where, you have the, what do they call it? The undercity, where that's really where the older technology, the steam power technology is. And then in the upper echelon of society, you have the more cyberpunk connection of newer scientific technology.
Right.
There you go, John. You can drive the getaway vehicle for us. Oh, see? John and I are already close enough friends. We know what's going to happen.
Dang, bank robbers. Somebody delete the VOD.
So okay, when was it then that take the money back from the government? Yes, taxation is theft. Fuckers. When was it that you actually started like getting yourself to the point of like, I'm going to finally do this. I'm going to take action. I'm going to start writing. And what was that process like for you?
I love this question because I love to be so honest about it. I've done streaming, we're at 10-year mark right there since the first Son of Sin book's been 3 years now. So somewhere around almost
Congrats.
11 years. I had played and done so many marathons, done so many stories. And then like the newer ones, they started to really leave a bad taste in my mouth. Like as far as the stories and how they were unfolding or this or that. And I just started getting irritated. I was like, and I had done this for so long. And then I started thinking about Son of Sin again. And I remember they had several classes there. One of which was towards the end of the degree, they separate you off into groups of your choosing to develop a game idea. So we had like a team of 5 or something. So then when we all branched off and figured out who wanted to be on whose team, we had to pitch our ideas. And I remember pitching the idea to the group, and they all said it was too good that they would just butcher it and it would be terrible. Like they wouldn't be able to achieve what I was actually making.
Right.
And then I just kept thinking about that. I was like, I wonder, like, maybe that was true. And then like I'm getting irritated about the current content. I'm like, and I'm one of the biggest people that can't stand when somebody bitches about something and doesn't try to fix it. So I was like, why don't I just sit down and force myself to write my own story if I think I can do it, right?
Yep.
And that's literally how I came there. Plus, aging so long in the streaming world, I definitely wanted to develop something else outside of just me playing games. I thought that was such an attractive idea, and I thought I could do a good job at it. So I just, the great part, another strange chapter of my crazy life. When I decided to take a whole month away from streaming just to write the first book, during that month is when Mixer shut down. So the place, my main channel, they shut down during my writing. So when I came back, I didn't even have a stream to come back to there. So
that's insane. So it took. So I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, and all those superhero movies, all the different movies I've seen, I just felt like they were so blah. Like I can write something better than this.
So yeah, and that's where John is your good friend now. He's a part of what they call the Iron Age community, where us independent authors, we believe that we, well, not just authors, but independent creators. We are the new Hollywood, and that's where our content is what people need to be seeing because it is more original content.
Plus, all these other people already had their shot.
Well, yeah, it's more genuine. It's like, dude, we're not going to try to rewash and give you the same spiel over and over again. It's like, no, we're coming up with original ideas, and though they may be inspired by something else, it's still this is our content. This is what we're going to make.
You know what else? drives me crazy is you see some of these other terrible projects get funded, like with millions of dollars. You're like, that got funded? Like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm so sad. Like, how many freaking times are we going to redo Spider-Man and Batman? And like, it's just reboot after reboot. It's just so
I'm
like,
telling you, Stacey, like you have to be in the room. There's no way that you're on top of this.
well, I'm loud, so she probably just hears me right in the other room.
Oh, okay, that's true.
But for real, like I'm sick of the like everybody asks me, "Are you gonna play a new Spider-Man?" I'm like, no, I don't. I just don't give a damn about Spider-Man anymore, or
Yeah.
Batman, or like, it's not that I hate
Well,
them, but I'm just sick of the same thing.
that's it. That is exactly it. Where like the one or two Marvel movie, the latest Marvel movie I watched was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And
Mm-hmm.
I
I haven't seen it
really
yet.
actually enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even finish Ant-Man. I didn't even try Wakanda because I was like the same thing. I was like, dude, I don't give a shit anymore. I don't care about it. One,
yeah.
the latest Batman movie with the little vampire freak, that was the only DC movie I have watched in years.
Oh, did you
And
like it? You mean Robert Pattinson?
yeah, that one. Yeah. And I
Okay.
liked it. I liked that dark Batman, but I'm also at the same way of one. DC, it just ruins all their movies. They, for some reason, don't care about putting out the worst content ever. They're all about it. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm sick and tired. There's so many like Prey on Hulu, epic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, best in my opinion, the best Predator movie ever. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
why can't you guys make this cool shit? You literally had it sitting on a shelf somewhere and you made it and it's awesome. Make more of this. Stop giving me the bullshit.
It is very bizarre, right? But I think they do it because people will give them money anyway. I literally think that they are
Yeah, it
completely
is.
aware that they can release anything and just cash in, and then you can't blame them.
I have a lot of judgment on you, Xander, but I know you're joking. That has to be sarcasm. They
Yeah,
drove
he's
Batman and
joking.
Spider-Man into the ground. Yep,
But he
absolutely.
also watches the entire Witcher series on Netflix without playing the games.
I
He's
haven't
one of
played the
those
games
people.
either. But here's the thing: like, I didn't even finish the Witcher series because I was so confused. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's terrible. The
And
books are
then,
incredible. The game is incredible.
yep,
The show is it's like a spit in the face.
of
We're
course.
talking we're talking like maybe 5% of the story they kept.
Oh my gosh! And
Like
they showed
is it even
Fortnite.
that thing at that point?
Yeah,
It's not.
it's yeah. What you need is a new epic fantasy that stars a half-orc prince and John, why do I know you're pushing your book? But that's okay. We let you do that here. DC makes me sad. I love their animation shows, but the movies are bad. Yep, absolutely. Witcher series is garbage, but Henry is great. Henry is great, man. Give it to a guy who sticks up for is like, nope, I'm not going to be a part of this, or I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that. The writing is bad, absolutely. Okay, so I want to make original content. I want to make a story that's going to be better than the shit that's being produced. I'm going to do this.
That's how I started. Yep.
Did you plan out the story or did you literally go into it and just write whatever came to you at the time?
I bought a joint. I sat on my beanbag. I opened a Word document. Why are you laughing at me?
Oh my god, this is I don't know why. It just was not what I was expecting.
No, it's mostly a true story. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and for me, marijuana can help me really focus on something. And I wasn't sure where to start. A lot of my stuff will come laying in bed when I can't sleep at night, and I go into Son of Sin, and I make my biggest thing I don't want people to complain about are loose ends, or what are they, plot holes. So I'm
Yep.
always thinking about every single little inch of it before I write it, and try to avoid anybody saying there's plot holes here. So that helps. So I roll over in the middle of the night and just type out a whole segment of the story and just like the base words of keywords that'll trigger my mind, like, right. So I would just blurt it out in a couple paragraphs, maybe take a break. and again, just keep doing that and then walk away. Walking away, as you probably know, is a huge, like, just go take a walk,
Yep.
walk around the block, and then you can come back and sit back down. And then all of a sudden it starts flowing again. That was interesting because, I didn't know how to write, but when I started figuring out those sort of things that helped me, it became a little bit easier. As you can see, book 2 is much bigger than book 1.
Yes.
I felt a lot
book
more.
2 is basically like twice the size of book
It's
1.
almost 3 times it's almost, it's probably, it's like 2.5 the length of 1.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 2.5.
So that one was great because I became much more comfortable. And for book 1, God, I wish I could just redo book 1, quite honestly. And
which you can, right?
Yeah,
That's the power of being an indie. Yeah, you could.
that's the plan, because the tournament.
Mhm.
I'd like to do all the rounds, not just cut to the semifinals. So I think that
Right.
could be fun with a bunch of crazy, weird, funny moments, stuff like that. Plus, having just winged it, now being able to do things better, I think it would probably be a great one to revisit. One of my biggest struggles is, you probably went through it, word repetition. You mentioned it earlier. Like, that can really ruin the flow of reading for people. And I completely agree. But when you're just an amateur winging it,
Yeah,
trying your best.
So right before I moved down here, the whole reason I'm down here is because my father passed away. I moved down here to be with my mom, to
I'm
support
sorry,
her,
man.
to spend time. When I was driving, I get the phone call, hey, Dad's, on his downhill passing moment. You might want to get down here. Well, I totaled my car. I hit a cow going 70.
A
Would
cow?
not recommend. Yeah. Oh, dude, I butchered that thing. Like,
is that where the logo came from? Is that the
what,
cow on your
this one?
shirt?
No, this is a demon skull. But
Okay.
before I butchered that cow going 70, I was listening to an audiobook. And what's funny is, after I hit the cow, the audiobook was still playing. I was like, well, I don't need this playing right now. Turn that off. But there was a part at the very beginning of the book where the narrator said the word hallway about 7 times in 2 minutes.
Oh, God.
And so, of course, what do you think? All I'm thinking about is like hallway.
It becomes like hearing a dripping drain, right?
Yes, I hated it. And it was by
You
one of
keep
my
hearing
favorite narrators. And I'm like, I hate you, dude. I can't even listen to another book. So, yeah. So, no. And that's one of the things now I use. I've talked about it before on one of my weekend updates. It is an AI protocol, so many people could get mad at me, but I use it for the tool that it is. And that is, it is a voice narration software. I upload the manuscripts in, I listen to it, and the voices are extremely premium level quality.
Hey, that's
to
a
where
good idea.
when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, nope, stop. And
That's
so what's
very
nice
cool.
is, I'll read through the manuscript, I'll find all those things. And then when I listen to it, I don't have to tune in as much, right?
Right.
I can kind of like let my brain relax, let my eyes relax. But that's when you're going to start to be like, oh, nope, hold on, stop right here. Change this around, do something different.
Nice. I should try that. That's really smart. Because they drove me crazy listening to the audiobook when he was submitting chapters to us. We were listening to it. I'm like, God, I'm saying that word a ton.
Yep.
So I actually worked with him and removed some of those in the audiobook that were more prevalent in the written font.
Yep. Dan, the audiobooks are kick-ass. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got 2.
I love all the rounds. He
Yeah,
talks about redoing book 1
tournament
all the time. It's just not as cleaned up as we want these days.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. And then, of course, we have Urban Excursion.
He was the one that introduced Twitch to me.
Oh, nice.
From college.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a college buddy.
Yeah, no, seriously, I have
You like his cute face of Urban Excursion?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how's that not a LinkedIn profile picture right there?
That's his Tinder. No, I'm kidding.
It's James. Hola.
Yeah.
Yes. No, so obviously I did the physical read. I haven't done the audiobooks. But yeah, like, getting back to the point, the voice narration stuff is just, it's one of those things where it allows me to really see those differences. You can change up the voices, if you want a female voice, male voice. But the other cool thing I really liked about this software, and the reason I went with it, is I can copy and paste all of the chapters in. Then I can export it to an MP3 file.
Oh.
So then I can literally take my manuscripts with me when I go for a run, when I go for a walk,
Interesting.
whatever, and listen to them on my phone or whatnot. So
does it sound natural? Or is it pretty robotic?
It's pretty natural.
Really?
It's pretty natural. Now, granted, there's sometimes where pronunciations, it'll get a little mixed up because like with Call Sign Bloodbath, when it's a shooter, it would say like, the lead snapped by my head. It's like, well, the lead rounds. So, it may not know some of those differences, but when I listened to the premium audio, I was like, holy shit. And you can even speed it up because I like to listen to a lot of my audiobooks at a 1.2 rather than a 1.
So yeah. A lot of people seem to like that. I've never tried that. That probably helps.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it? Natural voice. Let me see here.
What's the cost?
Naturalreaders.com. I believe I paid $120 for a year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And that's where like it's got like 40 different voices premium, and then it's got obviously substandard levels. So, but that was my biggest thing too. And also what I wanted to do was I wrote a side story that I submitted to Anvil magazine. So what I also did was on my Patreons, I uploaded the audio file there. So they could either read the manuscript text or they could listen to it as well. So I was like, well, this is just another way that it may not be perfect. It may not be a human, but hey, until we get it to that level of production, you guys can at least hopefully enjoy it this way as well.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Very
okay.
Cool.
So now, you've written book 1, you've written book 2, you're now in book 3. What would you say is some of the bigger lessons you've learned as a writer in going through this process? And what are some of the tips that you would recommend to other aspiring authors who are thinking about writing a story?
You're going to need an incredible amount of patience. Trying like in every aspect of it, whether you're working with an editor or even just hoping and praying that somebody will read it after they bought it. I think that's been one of my hardest adjustments is waiting for them to do it, and they keep telling you they will, and those things are kind of eat at you because you're excited to get feedback about where you're going. So that's a big tip is out there. Just because you wrote a book, don't think people are going to be rushing to read it.
Yep.
And as far as artists, Stace and I go back and forth on this battle all the time. She doesn't think it's as important as I do. Like I wanted to have one piece of art per chapter, but then when you're looking at a 21 chapter book, that's not so easy. So
especially when you're asking for commercial rights to that, that artwork as well.
Yeah. Certain artists and what they charge. Like you could be paying $250 for one piece of art. You could be paying $450. Like my one of my pieces, Senric, the android holding the face.
Yep.
That was a $450 piece of art. You're not going to make that profit back.
Right.
So,
well, again, like we said, like, $5,000 to make the book. Now, even more when you want artwork, like the amount of income to come back from that is insane.
Yeah, it's not even close. So when you're figuring out art, I would suggest, unless you've really got deep pockets and you can afford to just throw money at something, not that it's not worth it, but maybe you don't need it. I think Stace would probably like me to give that advice. Like, I don't know. Because I also just told her the other day that I think another part of my problems with book 3 is I had a constant flow of new art coming to me that was really inspiring me and making me excited, and it made me keep pushing and writing because I had a brand new piece of art for each character every month. I don't have that with book 3 because we don't have the budget. We're not making a whole ton. That kind of stuff.
I'm the same way where book 3 is going to come out without art because I just can't afford it. So I get it.
Mm-hmm. And it's my best one. The moments are crazy. It's like the end of it's the Return of the Jedi of my thing, the third, it's the trilogy.
Right.
And Yeah, that's probably hard because Xander, he is writing his first book, and he told me the same. He experienced the same thing I did. That he got teary eyed the first time he saw his main character being drawn.
Yep.
It's it's a
Yep.
big moment, right? Like when you first see it, and it feels so nice, and then you always want to kind of see them, but it gets
Yeah,
extremely expensive.
that is so true when you said that. Like when you would get the artwork and you would get that motivation.
And
That's
when they nail it,
exactly
when they
the
finally
way
nail
it
it
was
after
for
a
me.
bunch of revisions.
So thankfully, my guy was almost spot on. Like we've
Oh
gotten
yeah.
to the point now where I could send him the sketch. Like I basically do a Microsoft PowerPoint slide where I will take all the other things that I want in that character. And so I'll put it all on one slide. I'll send it to him and he nails it now. Like there's only a
Nice.
few times where I'm like, hey, can you make the hand more like this or like that? Like almost spot on to where I'm just like, well, the most recent thing he did was the Fraish creature, which, there we go.
Oh, cool. Like a frog looking thing.
Yeah. So like at first he made it and he almost made it look like a Pokemon. I'm like, nah, dude, like this thing needs to be vicious, like Spawn, where this thing is just gonna rip your face off, or Venom. Like this thing needs to be. So I may send it back to him to be like, get me more viciousness. But that's been like one of the only big complaints.
You
But
know
that
what?
same thing of when you see the art, you're just like, yes, okay, let's go, let's do this.
You know what might help you as a suggestion, because it's something I'm exploring. Something like that. I was thinking about contacting some really good tattoo artists because they could probably make that
So
creature. You know what I mean?
that's how my artist started. He started as a tattoo artist and now
Oh
he does
yeah.
this. Yep.
Okay.
So I just connected with another tattoo artist. So my primary illustrator is in Brazil. So there's a little bit of a language barrier,
Mm.
but his prices are almost unbeatable compared to anyone else in the US. And so that's where I have had one or two other people who are like, hey, I'm really interested in doing some art or this. I'm like, dude, I don't think you can beat my guy's prices. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But and so I feel bad on that avenue because I wish I had the funds to really help these other artists showcase their work within my world. But at the same time, I know that when I hire Lauren and he does work, I know I am a huge blessing to him because I do know that my US dollar is going so much further for him and his lifestyle
Yeah.
as well.
I would love to
So it
hire
is
you.
kind of a balance.
I have not been able to find a U.S. artist to work with. Well, actually, that's a lie. The first book, the cover art, he did that. He was an ex-military, I believe, Army. Great guy, and then he just didn't want to.
Want to
He
keep
was
going.
well, yeah, he was doing a show on Facebook or something with his wife selling jewelry and stuff, and that took him away from his art.
Wow. Okay.
But then,
Hey, if you can make a living doing it, then okay, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. Well, it's not. I'm not hating on him or anything, but that
Right.
sucks that I lost. Like I think he did a great job
Mhm.
for book one. Book two, I hired somebody in. I believe he's in where I don't remember where he's in. I think maybe Colombia. He
Okay.
was really difficult to work with, and then the Cineric android they were in the Ukraine, and
Mhm.
simply never wanted to work on anything sci-fi. They wanted to do fantasy. So I can't do any more pieces with them.
And that's what Stacy said is you can't keep an artist
Yeah.
and they do take forever.
Well, the Columbia guy, we started to work on book 3 art. You know
Mhm.
the art of Honey with the bike, the
Yep.
from book
Yep.
2. That piece, I wanted a new piece of her washing some blood off of the bike for book 3. And he took the exact same shot of the bike and zoomed it really far in and was just doing it wasn't at all what I asked, and he was trying to use the same art he already drew while charging the same price. I was like, I want a
Mhm.
completely different perspective of the bike, like from the
Right.
rear.
Right.
That's we didn't hire him again.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that is one of the biggest things that you might experience as an artist, the challenges of not only paying them, but just getting them to, yeah, Cloud Chen remembers that debacle. Like, what
Mhm.
are you supposed to do? You can't work with somebody like that wants to just try to
I
jip
think
you out of brand new, fresh art for the same price.
I think it is one of those things. That was one of the hardest parts for me as an author, was when I had to just come to the realization of like, I won't have art for book 3.
Yeah.
Or I may pay for 3 new pieces just because they are critical characters, right? But it was one of those things of like, you know what? Even though I had it at the beginning, at the end of the day, now it's just mostly about the story. And I think that would probably be one of my biggest pieces of advice for young authors is like, yes, even though my first 2 books are really cool with character art, if I could bring that $10,000 back
Yeah.
and then also bring back the $2,000 for the Spanish version that I had translated that is only sold
Yeah.
1 copy. And
Oh.
so, and it was on Kindle, so that's only a $2 profit, right?
Mm,
If I had that $12,000 back, that's literally 2 more books that I could have had produced and published. So yes, I hate the fact that that's the advice I have to give. But unless you do have a lot of money reserved, or if you are your own artist, if I had the ability to draw like
God,
that,
I wish, right?
I would be making mangas and comic books and like, yo, it would be nonstop.
Yeah, same.
So, Brandon, dude, you have no idea how badly I want to finish this read, but I'm enjoying the ride at the same time. Thank you, man. And honestly, one of my beta readers for book 2, that is exactly what she said as well. When she was in book 2, she's like, I was going so fast. It was intense. I loved it. And I actually had to stop and tell myself, slow down, enjoy the ride. So that's awesome.
Nice.
Cloud Chan, I think one medium creates more mediums. Got to produce what you can. Absolutely. That's a good segue here. Don't let me forget that, Cloud Chan. We can segue. I have 3 versions of Klain in my head.
Yeah, he's somebody I was considering, like he would do Klain's voice if it was a real production or something. Cloud Chan,
Oh, nice.
he's been around for a long time. Yeah,
Awesome.
he loves Klain.
Xander, yep, agreeing. Dude, I have to explain so much. I might as well have been typing keywords to an AI art generator. You know, yep,
That's a funny comment.
yep. It's one of those things where some people are absolutely against it, and then you get into a position where you're like, well, there's some benefits there. Great minds think alike. Mix is very specific because he has the capability of doing most of these things to a certain extent. It's hard for him to let go of creative control. Oh, yes, AI art
for
has
sure.
helped bridge that gap.
Have
That
you
was
you saw my AI
yes.
art, right?
Yes, I did.
She did all that herself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it is one of those things like you have to play with it, you have to work with it, but
And Dan Good.
one of the things too, so I've used some AI art generation. I'll be open, I'll be honest. What I mostly use it for though is actually research, or not research, but like storyboarding.
Yes, that's great.
Because I'll go onto Google and I'll be like fantasy XXX, like for fantasy landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have to search through all these images to find the right thing. Whereas because I'm a writer, I can write so fast in an AI art generation. I'm like, here's what I need. Boom, boom, boom. Bloop. Cool. Give me 10 different variations. Cool. Now I have this. I put them into my storyboard.
Wild.
I'm able to create the visual scenes that I'm going to be writing. So yes, I don't really agree with it necessarily on a profit thing. You know, I don't want to make money off of these AI art images, but at least from a research standpoint or for helping develop some of the storyboard techniques, it's been very beneficial.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because as you know, like your time is just as valuable, just as important when you're going into this creative process as anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the AI really nailed exactly how I've seen Klain in my head, and that was scary. Dan Good in chat, he was the one that generated that one for me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's such a perfect picture of him too. I think it really captures his attitude and who he is and everything. It's crazy that AI can spit that out.
Right. Any creation grows beyond its creator at some point. Well, yeah, you hope so. You hope so.
That's the goal, right? Well, with Control, I don't know. Like the Witcher series, for example, I would be so livid if they butchered my story.
So even Square Enix outsourced an opening CGI cinematic for Heaven's Sword. Heaven's Sword.
That's a Final Fantasy 14 MMO.
Oh, yeah. I can do it. Oh, yeah. um, you know, I was so Michael Staphole, fellow author who was at the convention with us. I got to sit down and talk to him for an hour. And dude, that guy, I'm trying to get him to come onto the channel as well.
Nice.
And we talked a little bit about that when we were at the convention. And it was one of those things where he's like, you know, TJ, let's say you wrote a story. Let's say the story's great, phenomenal. And you know how hard it can be as an author. I was like, yeah. He's like, some authors have great success, others don't. If a movie company came to you and said, hey, we'll give you $20 million for your story series,
and it turns out to be diarrhea,
there's only one thing that you should be thinking about, and that is, will this take care of my family? Because at the end of the day, he's like, dude, you could have all the fans in the world who are going to be upset at you, but you know, if you are in a position where that money is going to be able to support your family, you're going to think about that decision a lot differently.
Would you?
Like, wow,
okay.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
What if they gave you 10 million and you get to retain creative control?
Well, here's the other
you
thing.
Take half
when you
of
look at it, so one of the things I like to watch is a YouTube channel. Oh, it's not Screen Rant. It's another one. Mm-hmm. But they have a lot of interviews, and it's mostly focused on the Hollywood scene. Hollywood writers, Hollywood producers, whatever. What I did not realize is that Hollywood studios will buy the rights to books just to hold on to the story so no one else can produce them. And then we just saw that with The Sound of Freedom, where Disney had the rights to the movie for years.
Isn't that interesting?
And refused to make it. So that's where you could be like, oh man, this movie's. And so one of the authors at the interviewed, there was a studio who bought the rights to her movie and then never produced it. So then she had to go through the legal battle of getting those rights back to try to get it produced. So that's where it's like, oh yeah, you know, we'll give you $200,000. You can keep creative control. Okay, cool. So when are we going to make the movie? Oh yeah, we're not. We just don't want this movie studio to make your movie.
Right.
So
I wonder how much they got for that.
I don't know. That's a great question. I think at the end of the day,
Disney, you know,
at the end of the day, I think it really does come down to where am I at in life? What's going on? You know, who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll ever get to that point, but at least
not with that mindset. Don't say that.
I'll have a cool bookshelf full of books because, you know, I've got a ton of books to write and a ton in my head.
That's true. That's one thing I need to freaking put in our house is a bookshelf.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get there pretty soon. So,
yeah.
Elbow cough. At the sacrifice of your legacy. I mean, Stacy, you ever bring, I truly wonder sometimes when the newer version of things will become the new source of material. So,
yeah, that's a scary thing, right? That's what they try to do with Star Wars.
At the sacrifice of my legacy. You know, I've talked about this on my channel. So for the new viewers who don't really know much about me, I have said this. I said it yesterday. I don't want to make a lot of money. And the reason I say that is I have seen way too many people who have changed because I believe money is the root of all evil. Okay. So I would like to make enough money to where I can support myself. I could support my family, you know, whatever. I would love to make that type of money to where I could do it full time, but I never want to make money to where I lose who I genuinely am.
That's great.
So, you know, if a movie studio came and said, hey, we'll offer you this much. No. But me and like the 10 other people, we can at least enjoy the world that we developed.
Yeah.
Good thing we don't have any. Exactly. That's why our streams are so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we got asked like before we did that convention, if somebody came up and offered you $100,000 to buy the rights to Son of Sin, would you take it? I'm like, no. But thanks for showing me it has value now.
Yeah.
Like $100,000, no.
No.
Would you take $100,000?
For the dying breed? Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely
okay.
not. How would $100,000
change your life these days?
No, because I mean,
and then taxes.
So, well, here's the thing. There was a day in my life where I saw a certain bank account hit $120,000, and I didn't sell some of my stocks, and instead I went negative $20,000.
Oh, that's a fun experience.
Yeah, that was
Like
great.
riding a
It's like,
roller coaster.
it is, yeah. So I mean, I still have some stocks and everything, but I I have seen a check with $60,000 on it, and I was like, holy cow, like that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing: my story started 13 years ago in my head as well, and it's been in my
Nice.
head for 13 years. My well, 14, I guess. Um, I've been writing for over a year. Like the story has been we've been in production for almost 2 years now. You mean to tell me like the countless hours, the sleepless nights, the hours writing and editing and all this art and going through this process, you think it's only $100,000? Nah, dude. No.
That's
And
fair.
granted, someone may say, oh, well, that's all sentimental value. Yeah, it is. And it's going to take a lot more for me to sell off that sentiment because this is a world that I love. And this is a world
Right.
whenever my brain isn't thinking on something else, it's thinking about like, okay, what's this next thing I'm going to have Golgoth do? Or what's the next thing I'm going to have Crow do in his story?
It's a great place
So
to go to, right?
yeah, it's way better than this reality.
I know, right?
Like, yeah. So, um, John, yeah, but if you had enough money, you could sit home and write all the time. That's the goal. That is the goal. If I can have just enough to be a full-time author, do this work, because I know another author friend of mine, really good. He's actually the author that inspired me to really write. He has made enough as an author to when he goes to conventions, he just gives his books away for free. Like he's like, dude, I've already made my money from sales. Like I might as well just give it to fans to enjoy. So yeah, I don't care. I'm like, that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough day. That was a rough day, Cloud. Passion is irreplaceable. That is exactly it. And here's the other thing is when you're at this level, I think Chris and I are at the same level. It's one thing to say you have passion, and I've talked about this on my live streams before. Everyone loves passion. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so great. Like, yeah, I'm super passionate about baking. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's so great. You love baking. I love baking. Passion is so wonderful. I love this. But when every conversation is like, all right, so yeah, dude, I'm thinking like if Liam goes over here, this like your story is not a passion, it's now an obsession. Like you are always there. So thankfully you need a partner like Stacy, where it's like, yeah, she's a part of this world too. She's a part of this process because that's where it's an obsession. People hate obsession because they're going to get to the point where they're like, dude, what's wrong with you? All you talk about is the world of Pentagoth, or all you talking about is Cloud, Cloud City or Son of Sin or whatever. It's like, yeah, sorry, this is my world, dude.
Yeah.
And that's when they're like, oh, well, you guys are just weird. You're obsessed with this. Yeah, that's literally how we are.
How do you think anything gets done? Not even just writing, but like inventing something, all the stuff in society. People have to have discipline to get through something.
And that's exactly it too, is when you're writing, there's those days where you don't want to write. There's those days where you just want to throw the keyboard through the window, but you have to have the discipline of showing up every day and dedicating to this.
All I want to do is write right now, and I can't.
Right?
Like I'm ready to go, and I know what to do, and I'm perfectly ready to go through finishing the book, and I just can't. I never get to sit down and do it anymore.
I know. Talking to this ugly mug over here on the other side of the valley. Sorry, man.
No, I wouldn't be writing right now. Trust me.
Yeah.
We've been doing, I didn't even talk about that, but like Stace and I, we've been, I have a goal of reach 5,000 YouTube subs. And I started the year with 2,000.
Nice.
We're about to hit 4,000, and it's looking like I'm going to hit it. And that takes like, we did 3 movies just between last night and today. We watched Bloodsport last night, and then we recorded GoldenEye this morning, and we did the Uncharted movie. So like, there's just all these constant things that take the time away. Like I'm trying to make it on YouTube to fund Son of Sin, to be honest.
Okay, there you go.
That's the main goal. But that actually could segue into Xander's question about Kickstarter. You and I, we both have Patreon. Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten anybody to sign up for Patreon in probably over a year or more. I just have my same few, like Reborn and Cloud Chan and a couple others. I tell people all the time that are, oh man, where's your 3rd book? When's it coming? Like, oh, it's hard to fund. We're trying to buy, afford editing and maybe some art. We just had some more support on Patreon, and they just expect you to just spit it out. Those sort of things are extremely difficult, Xander, and you don't do what I do as a streamer, right? Like you're not going to have a platform to even suggest to your viewers to support you like that. I don't know. I mean, you might have other ideas on how you get people to sign up for your Kickstarter. I haven't had any, like each of my books mentions supporting the books on Patreon. I've never had a random reader even sign up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
so I
hard.
mean, here's the one thing I would say. I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give young authors: start building your following now. And so I have Q. So Q is my development editor, my second development editor. He's one of my old troops from the military. He's now becoming an author, and he asked for permission to write within the world of Pentagoth, within my system. And so I was like, yep, you have my blessing. Let's do this. So that's where one of the biggest lessons I started with him was, you're going to start building your readership now. Like, you need to start building your following. You haven't even started writing yet, and you need to build this. You need to have these people behind you. So a part of that is you have to be everywhere. The only reason I am on Twitter and the only reason I'm on YouTube is because of John Douglas in the comments. That dude was the one who's like, dude, you need to be on Twitter. I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to be on Twitter. So I started my Twitter, started getting Iron Age movement. And then, of course, John's like, dude, I know you're streaming on Facebook. I know that's like your thing, but you have to be on YouTube. Like, it's so much easier for me to get the notifications to come watch you. So get on YouTube. I was like, okay, fine. So that's, from him, I did that. And then I started my TikTok. That's where I found Brandon. And that's where I've been blessed to have Brandon become a follower. Nice. So my biggest thing is what I'm saying is like, as you're writing, before the story's even out, you need to start building all of this, right? And you need to start getting people hyped about your work, and you need to believe in it, and you need to have them ready to come and support you. So what I would say is, when you're talking Kickstarters, I would recommend you go into Fund My Comic. I want to say, John, let me know if that's the one, the right one. Fundmycomic.com. It was made by creators within this Iron Age movement, because they hated the fact that things like Kickstarter or Indiegogo have algorithms to them. So if you don't have a big source of supporters, they will put you down lower in the feeds. Whereas Fund My Comic is made by other indies to support indies. They take less of a cut from anything that is raised. So yeah, I would say if you're going to try to fundraise, go there. Then get on Twitter, start getting a part of the Iron Age movement, start becoming connected with other indies, and start talking about your work, and be everywhere. The only reason I did the Patreon is because I am about to release Call Sign Bloodbath for free as a web novel on Royal Road. Cool. Royal Road is another platform where it is, all of the content is free. So if you post your book, people get to read it for free. But most of the time, if people love your work, then they're like, dude, where can I get the next part of the story? Okay, if you love the work, come to my Patreon. I'll release book 2 October 1st. So with my Patreon, because I already had book 1 and 2 published, I had book 3 written. I had 70,000 words in book 4. I just finished both books in Call Sign Bloodbath. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to launch it now, so that anyone that comes and becomes a Patreon is basically going to have access to 5.5 books until book 2 starts to release. Nice. So hopefully I have some good content for you guys to enjoy while you wait for the next level. So I think those would be the biggest tips of advice I would say. And, Michael Stackpole, the author from Fan Fusion, was like, dude, no author should ever have to pay for their work to be produced. I was like, that's great, Michael, but you've been traditionally published for 35 years, bro. Like, yeah, a few things have changed, but for sure. Dude, if anything, don't give up on the dream, man. Don't give up on it.
Yeah, Xander.
All right. Well, passion develops skill. Those skills you become proud of. Absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
Waiting for his next comment.
I would say after 12 years of streaming, the book sales are almost 60%.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, probably 60% of the copies I've sold are from viewers, yeah.
And for those of my viewers, those of my people who are in the lit RPG space, I understand like you guys love lit RPG and you're super connected. This is a cyberpunk world. It is so similar to lit RPG. You guys would definitely enjoy the story. So it don't be lit RPG exclusive. You guys can really enjoy this world. It's really great. So
I've even considered like redoing them into a lit RPG sort of mechanic, but let me finish 3 books first.
I know, right? So that's actually where I was told the same thing. Like, dude, you need to convert this over to a lit RPG, the Dying Breed series. And I was like, but same thing. I've already got 2 books in editing. Like, you want me to rewrite an entire story? I'm about to finish book 3. And so what I've already decided was, instead of redoing the entire story, I had basically planned out 13 books in the world, different sagas and different side stories. But once I'm done with that, I plan on doing a lit RPG series where the person is brought into the world of Pentagon.
Oh, okay.
And what's cool about it is the main character, because he already knows all of the story and all the lore, the character that he gets interacted with thinks he's a god. Because he's like, you have all this information. Like, how are you not a god? And he's like, dude, seriously, like, this is a story. No, this is not a story. This is a world. So I was like, all right, we got some
fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Self-promotion isn't really fun, and it can be hard because it makes you feel vulnerable. That was the biggest reason I didn't want Patreon. Because I was like, dude, you guys are going to see how bad my grammar and my spelling and everything is. Like, it's super vulnerable. But I finally was like, you know what? We need to get out there. Hopefully people have enough grace to accept your flaws. And
not even vulnerable. I think self-promotion can also annoy people to you, like they don't want to hear you talk about your thing or yourself. I've noticed too. You can sometimes see it in their eye, right? Like you bring up you're an author, then they don't want to talk about it for even 5 seconds and they'll never even give it a chance.
I think so. Because at first it was one of the most uncomfortable things for me to talk about.
Yeah.
I hated talking about it. And I think it was because I was so insecure with myself as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm at the point where my skills, I mean, I've seen my skills progress so much to where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a pretty good writer. I'm damn good. I can hold my own against some other guys. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to be proud of my work. And I'm going to be like, no, dude, I think you guys should check it out. Screw that guy. Like, who got a traditional publishing deal and has got hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing budget behind him. Like, nah, dude, give me a chance.
Yep. For sure.
Oh, wait. What did Cloud say? There's also a big part of it too. It's hard to promote to people close to you because your biggest fans will be strangers. Yes. And that's something we said. What was it, John? 2 weeks? No, it was like a month ago. Your supporters will become your friends faster than your friends will become your supporters.
Such a true statement.
Because that's where, when you start out, you're like, oh, dude, I've got 1,000 followers on Facebook. We've been connected for 12, 13 years. Oh, man, I'm sure like 100 people will at least come follow me. Yeah, nah, dude, like maybe 5. Out of
that
1,000,
too, Cloud Chain.
Maybe 5.
Yep. It's so true.
Yes. People eat at new restaurant, you get 1,000 likes. You announce you're having a baby, and lucky if you get 20 likes.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart hurts for you.
Yeah, we post, like, I have to do the Twitter and Instagram thing. You've seen my posts. Yep. And you'll post something like, oh, I've just wrote this or released this new book, 10 likes. Then you post just some meal you're eating, you get 50 likes. You're like, what is wrong? And like on Twitter, you can see how many people saw the post.
Right.
So,
yep.
Like I'll post a picture about my book stuff and there's 400 people see it and you get 5 likes, 10 likes. Yep. Then you post some other picture, random picture, you get 50 and you're like, what? People really don't, man, a lot of people really don't care about other people's creative endeavors. It's really disheartening.
I think what it is it's the insecurities that they really have, or the resentment, because it's like,
really?
I think some of it is to where people are like, well, I wish I could do that.
We'll do it.
You can. Like, we're at an age of technology where the only thing that's stopping you is you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, I can't get Microsoft Word. All right, well, do you have Google Documents? Because there's literally an author in romance who now makes six figures, but she started out going to the gym to walk on a treadmill, and she would write her books on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she started. She couldn't afford anything except she had like a free gym membership from somewhere, and all she did was write her books on her phone and save them on Google Cloud. So it's like,
Same thing I do.
yeah. And so I think it's a lot of people where they're just like, oh, well, I wish I could do that. You can do that, but you just would much rather not support someone who's being vulnerable, who's taking the
Right.
step. And yeah.
Dan Good, he actually told me about a viewer in my community that stopped coming around saying, oh, his books are really subpar. I could do a better job than that. And it's like, well, why don't you? Why haven't you written a book then if you're so good? You're better at talking crap about somebody than you are producing anything.
So there's another author and we are of this mindset where it's like, okay, if you're going to give me a 1-star rating, then I should have the right to bring you into an octagon and we can go 5 rounds. And I'm like, hell yeah.
1-star reviews are interesting.
Yeah, because I'm like, bro, let's fucking go. Not only would that be great entertainment for everyone, but then it's like, okay, let's take away the keyboard. Let's be face to face, and then he can talk to me, right? I think it's one of those things I've seen a lot of people like, well, this book was this. Write it. Then if you can do better, then write it and show me how easy it must be then.
Yeah. Yeah, those 1-stars are very interesting.
Yeah. I live with the motto, my success is your success. We're all just trying to be human out here.
Correct.
Yep.
Cloud Chan's a homie.
He is, man. Don't let Twitter views get to you. Majority of those are people scrolling past quickly. Many probably don't stop, look, and move on. Engagement is more important than views.
Yeah.
That's true. If someone watches you develop a skill, when they don't, they feel resentment.
Why?
Xander, you know what it is. Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah.
Actions speak for themselves. I think, so that was where, what Brandon just said, actions speak for themselves. I don't have any tattoos on my body. And I've seen a lot of course, military, a lot of guys, a lot of tattoos, everything else. And especially when I would see guys that would have like words like integrity or like, courage tattooed on them. I always was like, dude, I shouldn't have to have a tattoo to remind me of how to be a good person. Right. And so that was where I was like, man, hopefully my actions are speaking for who I am, that you don't have to know from a tattoo who I am. You're just like, oh, that's TJ. He's a good dude. Like, he's a gentleman. He's a genuine dude. Like, that's just live out who you would want to be treated as. So
yeah, the person you want to be in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's hopefully how I live. Yeah.
You try to be. Oh, hold on. Whoop. It's a lack of them progressing themselves, and they outwardly focus that. Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that. John Douglas, LOL, especially after this week, you are the expert. John has definitely gotten some engagement there. Nice tattoo reminds is always pretty cool. So here's the thing. Even though I don't have any tattoos, I love watching like Ink Master, the show, because I just admire the artwork. And I'm like, that is freaking cool. So I'm not bashing tattoos. It's just not my thing. It's projection of their own failure. You accomplish something they couldn't, so they psychologically can't handle you being superior or to them in their eyes. Yes.
I like this John guy.
Oh, dude, John's legit, man. He and I, we found
having a beer in that photo. We should be having a beer with John.
No, he's having a coffee, but yeah, no. So John, like, he's another author. He had a channel that he was doing an interview with another author. I tuned in. And I was like, dude, this guy, that's pretty cool. Let's connect. And so I had to ping him a couple times, and then we finally connected, and we've been really good friends for a couple months now. And yeah,
nice. That's cool.
Supporters. Q, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. RO, I gained 22 subs and 50 new followers. They'll stay. The haters will forget I exist. Absolutely. Chief Scholes, TJ is a good dude. He's a really good first sergeant and author too. Thank you, brother. So this is Chief Master Sergeant Scholes. I got to
Nice.
work directly with him in Oregon, and man, Chief, you are the real deal, man. There's E9s and there's Chiefs, and you are a fucking chief. So thank you.
Dan Good, also ex
Where's he
Army.
at? Oh, okay.
He spoke a long time ago. I don't know if he's still listening.
I don't know. All right, guys. Well, hey, if there's any other questions you want to have for Chris or myself about anything, please put them in the comments. And as we kind of start going, because, you know, obviously time is limited. You and Stacy, you've got, you know, quality time together for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, she's leaving to Seattle in the morning.
I know. So we want to make sure you guys get some quality time together. But tell us a little bit, Chris, you know, where is... I mean, I was kind of getting there, Cloud, but in a certain way, where is the future of Son of Sin? Like, what are you working on? And, you know, what can we expect to see from you and in this world in the next year or so?
I want to get book 3 out by the end of this year. That is the goal. I want nothing more than to write right now. Like, if I just had some money that I could sit and cover bills on for a couple months and just write, God, I wish that's what, because then I could finish it. But I'm at such a perfect point in the story. It's a big moment between Klain and Fila, and I've had it written out for months now. I just need to sit and do it. And I promise you, it's going to be good, Cloud Chan. It's really good. There's demons and all these sort of things. So I just need the financial freedom to allow me the time to write. I guess that's my biggest struggle at the moment, because, you know, we just moved and that was such a hit to us. And I've come back to streaming now and it's been pretty slow. So I don't know. I don't know how to, and yes, we're about to have a kid. So that's another reason why I want the book out before December for sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
So is there
Scary
just
time
three?
because, go ahead.
Is there just 3 books in Son of Sin, or are you actually planning on making like a 4th or 5th? Or
I definitely have much more, but it's more of like wanting to get through the trilogy, polishing it up and trying to present it to investors, because being able to keep writing, like, God, you just, as you know, we need some kind of backing. The amount of time and effort it takes, and financially, especially, it's really tough. So
yeah.
I guess 3 would be a stopping point to figure out if there's enough interest, or if I can find more interest and develop it more as a product, you know, maybe revisit book 1, flesh it out, add more art, stuff like that. Yeah, I would love it to be a show. Like, I write it as you read the first book. Each chapter I kind of write as an episode. So if it was on, I would love to be able to fund episode 1 of an anime show for like YouTube, see if that could go somewhere, and then you can maybe get a demand for episode 2. And
right.
Yeah, I know I tangent off, but yeah, book 3 I'm hoping this year, because specifically someone like you, Cloud Chan, I can't wait for you to read it, because you're gonna fall in love with a lot of it. I think it's really good. I've got like really horror stuff, hidden horror, abandoned malls type stuff, and
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right. So, John, who could win in a fight, TJ or you? You know, dude, here's the thing. I know he's got a weakness at the knees, so now I know a target
I've
to go
worked
to.
on that.
So
I'm into boxing and everything.
Okay. All right. So there you go, guys. If you want, pay up for the pay-per-view. If, you know, Jake Paul can do it and all those other guys, and you'll throw some money in the ring, and
Stace would leave me.
We'll get those, what are the giant sock'em things, remember? Like you
yeah.
Yeah,
we'll just get life-size Rock'em Sock'em robots. There we go. That would be cool.
Yeah. Yep. And Little Phoenix is on the way, dude. I'm super excited for you guys.
Phoenix Atreus mix, yes.
Yep.
Don't hurt my baby daddy. I ain't trying to go against ex-military guys. You got all this backup in chat. They're all ex-military. I'd be stupid.
Yep. Absolutely. See, John's already funding it. He's like, let's go. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we're going to start ending the stream here. And obviously, dude, thanks so much for following, for the engagement. Clearly, we need to have Chris back, and Stacy as well. So
she'd be down.
Definitely keep the pressure on him. All of his stuff is in the description. So if you want to connect with him on Amazon, Twitch, Twitter, his links are there. His website is there in the description of this video. definitely give him some love, give him some support as an author, because his stuff is really good.
Well,
I'm super excited to get into book 2, you guys.
I can't wait for you to.
Yeah, man. So it was a great stream. Can't wait for when he's back. Thank you.
Yeah,
Cloud.
Xander's writing a moment in his book where he wants to do art. I think of his main character reading Son of Sin, like just like a
Oh, dude, that would be
little
so
Easter egg in
dope.
the art. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Got to get here earlier next time.
You can rewatch.
You can rewatch, you guys, and that was one of the great things I loved about YouTube is, yep, the videos are going to be here. So I try my best on Sundays to do author AMAs just like this. My biggest thing is I don't necessarily want to talk about the story. I want to talk about the author. I want to get to know them as a person and hear the story behind what inspired the books. And then Saturdays are also my updates. So please consider subscribing and come and hang out, talk. Whenever you guys got questions, let me know. I'll share with you whatever insight I've got. So
yeah, you do a good job, man. I'm impressed.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And actually, yes, podcast it. That is kind of in the works, where I'm thinking that eventually we're going to put this over onto like a Spotify, and you guys can come in and listen. Obviously, it may be a little different with the comments, but we try our best, right?
Yeah. I've always wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I know
my
good buddy Michael Head, he's a ex-Army guy, fellow author. We did a stream for 3.5 hours.
Nice.
And most of it was us making fun of our fellow author friend. But oh my God, John can attest to it. We were laughing so hard my mic was giving out. So
nice. Yeah,
absolutely.
you're awesome for supporting local authors, man. I was really happy when you asked me to come on and to meet somebody even so close. I think it's great what you're doing.
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate it, because again, like us indie authors, we stick together. Especially getting to meet and link up, like it's been so much fun to have you as a fellow connection of being right down the street. So
go indie or go home. Wow, this John guy is
dude,
singing to my heart.
Right. Hey, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry, we'll make it happen. But all right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much to the Patreon followers, to all of you guys who have tuned in. You guys are why we're here. So thanks so much for enjoying us and being a part of this process. And yeah, we're going to have Chris back. So
sure.
For everyone else,
I appreciate all of your time. Thank you for listening. Hey, we prayed at the same time.
I know, right? Like, so that's
check out Son of Sin.
A divine blessing. We know, like, all of a sudden we're going to have some huge sales
success. Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, you stay safe, stay out there, stay grinding. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.